Knights Templar continue to be one of the more interesting secrets in history. Their rise to power and prestige, their influence on the modern world, and their rather dramatic fall from grace has inspired countless stories. Heirs to Heresy seeks to tell their rather dramatic and doomed tale, though, surprisingly from Osprey Games and Alan Barr again. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler here. I like Heirs to Heresy. It's Friday, October 13th, 1307. King Philip IV of France has launched an all-out assault on Templar hierarchy in Paris. You have been declared heretics, traitors, and worse by your detractors. You are one of the very handful who have grabbed what treasures you could and equipment you can carry and ran like hell to avoid the mob. It's a strong pitch, something that immediately forces you to realize three things about your predicament. You are trained, you are alone, and you are being hunted. The game itself is a 2d10 plus modifier system. Difficulties can seem a little rough at points though, but you're supposed to be specialists rather than generalists. The system is simple enough to grasp and gets you going even faster, so let's make a little knight to explain some bits. We'll need to determine if we're a dedicated or versatile knight, granting us our two spreads to our attributes. Some of these are going to be used a lot more than others, extensively so, but having a decent intellect or faith is almost always required, due to acting as a hard cap for how much XP you can get. We'll say that Ricker is a versatile knight with these attributes. These are going to be added to almost all of our checks in one way or another. Next, we'll choose to be focused or well-rounded for our skills. There aren't hundreds of skills, but a curated handful, and knowing your role and how to play it is important. Notice how we don't have any combat skills here though, because Rickard is a trained soldier of Christ and maybe other things. All of our combat skills are just derived attributes. It's less a measure of if we can fight and more how good we are at doing it. You even have a limited set of equipment due to being the gear that you just happen to grab. Luckily, everything is written in for you and is often better than most of the other very limited gear options, and that's just how you make a character in all of 5 minutes. Seems pretty simple all things considering, but that's where the game really shines. Something simple letting you feed into other parts of it to let it flow nicely together. The main crux of the game is the Templar's flight to one of several locations, trying to avoid persecution. From England, Iberia, all the way down to Malta. The adventures you have are built around that Odyssey, with travel being a series of checks that you'll be undertaking. Wish there was a lot more to it, to be honest, but the premise of needing to prepare supplies, avoid main roads, which are also the safest option, or just needing to survive off the land for a time because someone fucked up their travel check is appealing, but it's mostly just a driver from point A to point B. But luckily, you always have one thing, and that's faith. Faith points are a meta currency that you can spend to nudge fate in a few different directions. Reroll tests, activate abilities, reduce damage, or just keep a minor boost when you need it. But you have to keep up your daily prayers and good nature about you. Stealing to survive is a sin. Not praying is a sin. Most things are in fact a sin, and you're gonna get your shit rocked if you aren't being a holy man, and getting your shit rocked happens a lot. Because the game isn't necessarily lethal, but there is attrition. When combat breaks out, it'll either be against mobs or fearsome foes. Mobs are just that, an angry mob of peasants, a group of nameless soldiers, the kind of people you can cut through without much fuss with your two actions. But if you ever fail a check, they're going to retaliate immediately. Fearsome foes are your more traditional, often on par or better than a Templar in straight combat, still with two actions of course. The promise of being forced to know when to ward, parry, or defend versus going on the offensive may keep you from being turned into a fine paste. If you are reduced to 0 health or you just take a lot of damage at once, you start taking crippling blows. Conditions that get worse gradually. You're stunned, you're bleeding, your limbs broken, or you're just dying on the ground in a heap. Fighting man-to-man against a bunch of dirty peasants is very easy. Fighting against a peasant mob when you're all tired, miserable, and hungry is less so. Healing is slow, and most things out there are threatening what little health you have to work with, so a medic is nice to have to at least avoid the worst conditions. So why do I like the game? The reason is simple. It sells the fantasy. I'll compare it to Crescendo of Violence by the same author. That game is all about neo-noir bullshit with cyberpunk gunfights. but it doesn't really sell you on any of that. It meanders and tries to say it's Nova Vancouver. Heirs of Heresy opens directly to the point. You're a Knights Templar, and you are being hunted. You're forced to decide between faith, which is mechanically beneficial to have in your back pocket, versus more immediate concerns because you're starving to death. You're getting worn down from traveling because you're scared to take main roads because that builds pursuit points, a solid if underused mechanic that your enemies can use against you to pop up in red robes. You're developing very quickly and getting these unique and powerful gifts because you're running for your damn lives. You still get to improve gradually thanks to some downtime actions. Topping it all off, you can either play this completely legit with sword, board, and dying via shovel to the head, or add in some dramatic magic and sorcery to rip and tear until it is done. The game is solid. It knows what it is. It revels in what it is. But there are issues. Layout is an Osprey special with a bit of jumping around depending on the circumstance. There is an entire wargame system that feels completely out of place, and you're not getting a ton of options for most things. But the expansion does provide more stuff if you want it. And what systems are there are, well, about 80% there in some circumstances. But I think it's good. Great, even. Is it worth $25? No! Get it on sale if you really want to. My name is Notepad, and this was Heirs to Heresy. If you like what I do here, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Many thanks to the Knights Templar secret base under Chicago for continuing to fund these misadventures. Godspeed and good luck.